Imagine this. You're sitting alone in a quiet room, lights dimmed, and you close your eyes. Suddenly, an image emerges in your mind, a stranger, smiling warmly at you. Their face is unfamiliar, yet it feels like you've known them forever. You reach out, and they speak words that seem to come from the deepest part of your soul. What if I told you that this stranger is not just a figment of your imagination, but a part of you that can guide you toward love? Not just romantic love, but also self-love. And what if I told you that almost no one knows how to access this power? Today, we're diving into the hidden psychological tool Carl Jung called active imagination, and how it can transform your relationships, your self-worth, and your ability to find love. Let's get real for a second. Most of us are searching for love, whether it's swiping endlessly on dating apps, chasing validation from someone who doesn't prioritize us, or trying to mend a fractured relationship. The pursuit of love can feel like a maze with no exit. But what if the answer isn't out there? What if the blueprint for love is already inside you, waiting for you to unlock it? That's where Jung's active imagination comes in, a method of connecting the conscious and unconscious parts of your mind to reveal truths you didn't know you were hiding. And trust me, when you unlock this, it's like turning on a light in a dark room. You begin to see what's been holding you back all along. Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant minds in psychology, believed that much of our potential for transformation comes from the unconscious mind, the part of us that holds emotions, memories, and patterns we're not even aware of. Active imagination is a way to communicate directly with your unconscious, to let it speak to you in symbols, images, and feelings. So, how does this help you find love? Let me explain. Click subscribe to this channel to get more insights into human psychology. Think about your relationships. Have you ever felt like you're drawn to the same kind of person over and over again? Maybe they're emotionally unavailable, or they never seem to truly see you. Or maybe you push people away the moment they get too close. These patterns aren't random, they're coming from your unconscious. Jung believed that we project our inner conflicts onto others, especially in relationships. If you've ever thought, why do I always attract this kind of partner? Or why do I sabotage relationships? The answer lies in the parts of yourself you haven't faced yet. Active imagination allows you to meet these hidden parts of yourself. Jung called them archetypes, universal characters like the lover, the caregiver, or the shadow, which represent different aspects of who we are. For example, if you keep falling for people who don't treat you well, your shadow might be trying to show you a belief you hold about not being worthy of better. Through active imagination, you can enter into a kind of dialogue with these parts of yourself, asking them what they need, what they're trying to teach you, and how you can change. It's like becoming the hero of your own story, facing the dragons that have been holding you back. Here's how it works. First, you set aside time to be alone in a quiet space. You focus on a mood, a memory, or even a dream that's been lingering in your mind. Let's say you're feeling a deep sense of loneliness. Instead of pushing it away, you let yourself sink into it. You ask, what does this loneliness look like? What does it want to say to me? And then you wait. Maybe an image of a dark, empty room appears. Maybe you see a younger version of yourself sitting in the corner, crying. You approach this image in your mind like you would approach a friend in need. You ask, why are you here? What do you need from me? And then something miraculous happens. The image responds. It might not speak in words. It might show you a memory, or a feeling, or another image. But in that moment, you've opened a channel to your unconscious. This process might sound abstract, but its effects are incredibly real. Let me give you an example. A client of mine, let's call her Sarah, came to me feeling stuck in her love life. She kept dating people who made her feel invisible, and she couldn't understand why. Through active imagination, she began to explore this pattern. One day, she visualized herself sitting in a room with a mirror, but when she looked into the mirror, she couldn't see her reflection. It was as if she wasn't there. When I asked her to engage with this image, she realized it represented how she felt as a child, unseen and unheard by her parents. That unconscious wound had been playing out in her relationships, making her choose partners who reinforced the same feeling of invisibility. Once she became aware of this, she was able to break the pattern. She started choosing people who valued her because she had finally learned to value herself. This is the power of active imagination. It helps you see the connections between your past, your unconscious, and your present behavior. It's like pulling back the curtain on your own mind. And here's the thing. Love isn't just about finding the right person. It's about becoming the kind of person who can give and receive love freely, without fear, without self-sabotage. Active imagination helps you do that by bringing your unconscious wounds into the light, where you can heal them. But let's go deeper. Have you ever heard the phrase, "You have to love yourself before you can love someone else"? It's become such a cliché that most of us roll our eyes when we hear it. But here's the truth. Self-love isn't about bubble baths or affirmations. It's about integrating all the parts of yourself, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Jung believed that true love requires wholeness, and wholeness comes from embracing every part of who you are, even the parts you wish didn't exist. Through active imagination, you can meet these parts of yourself, the insecure child, the jealous lover, the critical parent, and learn to love them. Because when you love all of you, you stop looking for other people to fill the gaps. You stop needing someone else to complete you. And this is where things get really exciting. Once you've done this inner work, something incredible happens in your outer world. You start attracting people who reflect your wholeness back to you. It's not magic, it's psychology. When you stop projecting your wounds onto others, you create space for real connection. You're no longer looking for someone to fix you, or save you, or validate you. You're looking for someone to share the journey with as equals. And that kind of love is transformative. Now, you might be wondering, isn't this just daydreaming? That's a common misconception about active imagination. Daydreaming is passive. It's letting your mind wander without direction. Active imagination is intentional. You're engaging with your unconscious, not escaping from reality. And this engagement has real psychological benefits. Studies have shown that practices like visualization and guided imagery can reduce stress, improve emotional regulation, and even change neural pathways in the brain. Active imagination takes this a step further by not just observing your inner world, but actively participating in it. You're co-creating with your unconscious, building a bridge between your inner and outer life. And here's the best part. You don't have to do this perfectly. Jung himself said that active imagination is a skill that takes time and practice. The key is to approach it with curiosity and openness. You might feel silly at first, or skeptical, or even afraid. That's okay. In fact, it's a sign that you're stepping out of your comfort zone, which is where real growth happens. Remember, your unconscious is like a treasure chest. It might seem dark and scary at first, but the more you explore it, the more you'll discover its hidden riches. Let's go even deeper into this journey. If you're still here, it means you're ready to take the next step in understanding how Carl Jung's active imagination can help you find love, not just externally, but within yourself. And trust me, this is where the real magic happens. Because love isn't just about the surface level connections we make with others, It's about the inner transformation that allows us to become the kind of person who can create and sustain fulfilling relationships. Let's talk about a concept Jung was deeply passionate about: the idea of the anima and animus. These are archetypes that represent the feminine and masculine aspects of our psyche. In Jungian psychology, the anima for men and the animus for women are often projected onto romantic partners. This means that the qualities we're unconsciously searching for in others are, in fact, parts of ourselves that we haven't yet integrated. For example, if you're someone who's always drawn to creative, free-spirited partners, it might be because your own creative side is underdeveloped and is calling out for recognition. Or, if you're constantly attracted to strong, assertive people, it might be because your own inner strength is something you've yet to fully embrace. Active imagination can help you meet your anima or animus directly, instead of projecting them onto others. Imagine sitting down and allowing your mind to conjure a figure that represents your ideal partner. Maybe they're kind, confident, or adventurous. Now, instead of seeing them as someone out there, you can begin a dialogue with them in your imagination. Ask them, "What do you want me to learn from you? What part of myself are you trying to show me?" This might sound strange at first, but it's one of the most profound ways to access the unconscious parts of your psyche that are influencing your relationships. Let me share another example. A man I worked with, let's call him David, was struggling with commitment. He would get into relationships, but as soon as things become serious, he'd find reasons to leave. Through active imagination, David visualized his anima, a mysterious, ethereal woman who seemed distant and unattainable. When he asked her why she was always out of reach, she told him, "You're afraid of truly seeing me because you think I'll disappear." This conversation was a breakthrough for David. He realized that his fear of commitment wasn't about the women he was dating, it was about his own fear of vulnerability. By continuing to engage with his anima, he began to build a relationship with this part of himself, and over time, he found the courage to stay present in his relationships. But active imagination isn't just about uncovering what's wrong, it's also about discovering what's possible. Think about the kind of love you want to experience. Is it passionate, deeply connected, playful? Now ask yourself, do you embody those qualities? If not, why not? Through active imagination, you can explore what's holding you back. Maybe you visualize a playful, carefree figure, but when you approach them, they tell you, you've been too afraid to let go of control. Or maybe you see a passionate, fiery figure who says, "You've buried me," because you're afraid of getting hurt. These insights can be life-changing because they show you what you need to do to align with the love you want to attract. Here's another powerful exercise you can try. Think back to a relationship that deeply impacted you, whether it ended badly or left you longing for more. Instead of just analyzing it logically, use active imagination to revisit it on a symbolic level. Close your eyes and picture the other person. What do they represent to you? What feelings or memories do they bring up? And most importantly, what part of yourself did they mirror back to you? By engaging with this image, you can uncover the lessons that relationship was trying to teach you and release any lingering emotional baggage that's holding you back. Now let's talk about the shadow. This is one of Jung's most famous concepts, and it's crucial when it comes to finding love. The shadow represents the parts of ourselves we reject or deny, the traits we don't want to admit we have. Maybe you think of yourself as kind and selfless, but deep down, there's a part of you that's resentful and selfish. Or maybe you pride yourself on being independent, but there's a part of you that longs for connection and feels deeply lonely. These shadow traits don't go away just because we ignore them. Instead, they show up in our relationships, often in the form of projections. For example, if you've rejected your own anger, you might find yourself constantly attracting partners who are quick to anger. Or if you've denied your need for independence, you might feel smothered by your partner's attention. Active imagination allows you to confront your shadow directly. Instead of waiting for it to show up in your relationships, you can invite it into your awareness. Imagine sitting across from the part of you that you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a figure that feels dark, angry, or even scary. Ask them, "Why are you here? What do you want me to know?" At first, your shadow might seem like an enemy, but as you engage with it, you'll begin to see that it's actually trying to help you. It might be protecting you from pain or reminding you of something you've forgotten about yourself. By integrating your shadow, you become more whole, and when you're whole, you stop looking for someone else to complete you. Let me tell you about Maria, a woman who came to me after a string of failed relationships. She kept attracting partners who were critical and dismissive, and she couldn't understand why. Through active imagination, Maria visualized her shadow as a stern, judgmental figure. When she asked this figure what it wanted, it said, "I'm here because you've been ignoring your own self-criticism." Maria realized that she had been so harsh on herself that she'd unconsciously sought out partners who reinforced that dynamic. By working with her shadow, she learned to be more compassionate with herself, and as a result, she started attracting partners who treated her with the kindness and respect she had finally learned to give herself. Here's the thing: love is a mirror. The people we attract reflect back the parts of ourselves we most need to see. If you've been struggling to find love, it's not because there's something wrong with you. It's because there's something inside you that's asking to be seen, understood, and healed. Active imagination is the key to unlocking those insights. It's not about fixing yourself, it's about becoming fully yourself, so you can connect with others from a place of authenticity and wholeness. But let's not forget the practical side of this. Jung emphasized that active imagination isn't just about visualization, it's about grounding those insights in action. If your inner work reveals that you need to set boundaries, practice doing that in your relationships. If it shows you that you've been hiding your true self, take steps to be more vulnerable with the people around you. The unconscious speaks to us in symbols, but it's up to us to translate those symbols into real-world change. And here's the final piece of advice for this segment: trust the process. Active imagination can feel strange at first, and it might bring up emotions or images that are uncomfortable. But those moments of discomfort are where the growth happens. Remember, your unconscious is like a wise guide. It knows what you need, even if it doesn't always make sense right away. The more you practice, the more you'll begin to see how this inner work transforms not just your relationships, but your entire life. Now let's take everything we've uncovered so far and push even deeper into the transformative power of Carl Jung's active imagination. If you're still here, I know you're ready. You're ready to explore not just how this process can help you find love, but how it can fundamentally change the way you view yourself, your relationships, and your life. Because here's the truth: love is not just an external experience. It's an internal journey, and the deeper you go inside yourself, the deeper you'll connect with others. Let's explore one of the most profound aspects of active imagination: the ability to create what Jung called a dialogue with the self. The self, in Jungian psychology, is the totality of who you are, encompassing both your conscious mind and your unconscious. It's the part of you that holds your potential for growth, your deepest truths, and your ultimate wholeness. But here's the catch. Most of us live with a fragmented sense of self. We're divided. There's the part of us that wants love and connection, and then there's the part of us that's afraid of getting hurt. There's the part of us that feels confident and capable, and then there's the part that feels small and unworthy. Active imagination provides a way to bridge these gaps, to bring all the pieces of yourself into alignment. Here's how this works in the context of love. Let's say you're someone who struggles with trust in relationships. You've been hurt before, and now there's a part of you that's always on guard, always keeping people at arm's length. Through active imagination, you can visualize this part of yourself. Maybe it shows up as a figure like a warrior in armor or a protective parent. Ask this part of you, why are you here? What are you trying to protect me from? And listen to the answer. You might discover that this part of you is holding onto a memory of betrayal, a wound that hasn't fully healed. By engaging with this part of yourself, by acknowledging its pain and its purpose, you begin to integrate it. And when you do, you'll find that you're able to trust more freely, not because you're ignoring the risk, but because you've made peace with the part of you that fears it. This process can also help you connect with your inner child, which is one of the most powerful ways to heal your capacity for love. The inner child represents the part of you that is pure, open, and vulnerable. But for many of us, our inner child has been hurt by rejection, by criticism, by neglect. And when we don't address those wounds, they show up in our adult relationships. Maybe you find yourself craving constant reassurance from your partner, or maybe you pull away the moment someone gets too close. These behaviors often stem from unmet needs in childhood. Through active imagination, you can meet your inner child directly. Picture them in your mind. What do they look like? How do they feel? What do they need from you? By giving them the love and reassurance they didn't receive, you begin to heal those old wounds. And as you do, you'll find that your adult relationships become less reactive, more balanced, and more fulfilling. Let's talk about another key aspect of active imagination: its ability to reveal the patterns you're unconsciously repeating in your relationships. Have you ever noticed how certain dynamics seem to play out over and over again? Maybe you always end up feeling unappreciated, or you keep attracting partners who are emotionally unavailable. These patterns aren't accidents, they're clues. They're your unconscious mind trying to get your attention. Jung believed that what we don't make conscious will control us, and we'll call it fate. Active imagination allows you to bring these patterns into the light, to see them for what they are, and to begin to change them. For example, let's say you've noticed a pattern of feeling like your needs aren't being met in relationships. Through active imagination, you can explore where this feeling comes from. Maybe you visualize a scene from your childhood where you were trying to get your parents' attention but felt ignored. Or maybe you see an image of yourself shrinking, trying to make yourself smaller to avoid conflict. These images are your unconscious mind speaking to you, showing you the roots of your current struggles. By engaging with them, you can begin to rewrite the story. You can ask yourself, what would it look like to express my needs openly and confidently? What would it feel like to believe that my needs are valid? And then you can practice bringing that new awareness into your relationships. One of the most fascinating things about active imagination is that it doesn't just help you understand yourself, it also helps you understand others. Jung believed that we're all connected through what he called the collective unconscious. a shared reservoir of archetypes and symbols that transcends individual experience. When you engage with your own unconscious, you're tapping into this universal well of wisdom. This can give you incredible insight into the people in your life. For example, if your partner is acting distant or defensive, you might use active imagination to explore what's happening beneath the surface. You might visualize them as a figure in your mind and ask, "What are you feeling? What do you need from me?" This isn't about projecting your own assumptions onto them. It's about using your intuition to connect with their deeper emotional reality. And when you approach your relationships with this level of empathy and understanding, you create a space for true intimacy to flourish. Now, let's address one of the biggest challenges people face when doing this kind of inner work: resistance. Your unconscious mind is incredibly powerful, but it can also be incredibly protective. There might be parts of yourself that don't want to be seen, that resist change because it feels safer to stay the same. This is completely normal, and it's actually a sign that you're on the right track. Jung often said that the first step in any transformation is encountering resistance. The key is to approach it with curiosity rather than frustration. If you feel stuck or blocked during active imagination, ask yourself, what am I afraid to see? What would happen if I let this part of myself speak often? The very act of asking these questions is enough to dissolve the resistance and allow the process to unfold. Let me tell you about Mark, a man who came to me feeling stuck in his marriage. He loved his wife, but he felt like they had lost their connection. Through active imagination, Mark visualized himself standing in a room with two doors. One door was labeled comfort, and the other was labeled connection. When he tried to open the door to the connection, it was locked. As he explored this image further, he realized that the lock represented his fear of vulnerability. He had been so focused on maintaining the comfort of his routine that he had closed himself off emotionally. Once he became aware of this, he was able to take steps to reconnect with his wife, not by trying to change her, but by changing the way he showed up in the relationship. This brings us to one of the most important lessons of active imagination: the power of choice. When you engage with your unconscious, you're not just uncovering hidden truths, you're reclaiming your ability to choose how you respond to them. You're no longer at the mercy of your past wounds or unconscious patterns. You're taking an active role in shaping your future, and this is what makes active imagination so transformative. It's not just about understanding yourself, it's about empowering yourself to create the life and the love you truly desire. So where do we go from here? If you've followed me this far, you've already taken the first step. You've opened yourself up to the possibility that love isn't something you find, it's something you create, both within yourself and with others. The next step is to put this into practice. Set aside time each day to engage with your unconscious. Use active imagination to explore your feelings, your fears, and your desires. Be patient with yourself and trust that the process will reveal exactly what you need, exactly when you're ready to see it. And remember, this isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Every time you engage with your unconscious, you're taking a step closer to wholeness. And as you become more whole, you'll find that love stops feeling like something you have to chase. Instead, it becomes something that flows naturally, first from within you, and then to the people around you. So now, it's your turn. Are you ready to take that step? Are you ready to meet yourself, to embrace every part of who you are, and to create love from the inside out? If you are, I promise you this: the journey will change you in ways you can't even imagine. And when it does, you'll look back and realize that everything you've been searching for has been within you all along.